welcome to this episode of Let's Talk Someone Say Sports. My special guest is Ethan, and we will be talking some Sabres hockey. How do you think the Sabres will do the rest of the season?
Um, the Sabres have a bit of a tough schedule coming up. They play the Jets tomorrow. The Jets are second in the Central Division currently. They've been on quite a tear. Hellebuck's playing great. Morrissey's a Norris Trophy candidate. So we'll have to see how the Sabres do against them. Then another heart test in the Wild. Marc-Andre Fleury's playing back in form. Of course, they got Kaprizov, so they're never a team to look uh, too lightly upon. And then they're back at home against the Hurricanes on February the 1st, and the Hurricanes are again tearing it up. One of the best goaltending trios in the league. They got Aho, Nietzsche's. They have one of the best blue lines in the league, Jacob Slavin. And then they play the Flames, who are also on a tear. So this next 4-game slate for the Sabres is going to be a really tough test to see if they can keep in this Eastern Conference playoff race. But I mean, they have a lot of good stuff going on. They're second in goals for. They're 22nd in goals against. They have the most goals per 60 minutes. So on their offensive side, they're definitely a force to be reckoned with. Of course, they have Tage Thompson, Alex Tuch, Rasmus Dahlin. They're having great seasons. You have Jeff Skinner, proving that maybe his contract is a little bloated, but paying him $9 million wasn't for nothing. Dylan Cousins, who's one of the best rookies, or not rookies, one of the best young skaters in the league. Victor Olofsson, just putting up goal after goal after goal. And of course, you have the kids line, JJ Paterka, Jack Quinn, both with 19 points each. And Owen Power is looking better and better as the season goes on. So I think as long as the Sabres can keep up defensively and in goal, we have Luukkonen, who's been playing better and better as well. But he has had some rough patches, but that's to be expected with a young goalie who is playing really his first full season. I know he didn't start with the team, but Craig Anderson has looked solid in that. He's getting up there in age, so I do get concerned about his body over the whole season. Eric Comrie's been okay. He's been kind of disappointing. So we'll have to see what they figure out how to rotate all three of those goalies in. But some things that concern me is our defense. 31st in block shots and only 18th in takeaways. I mean, 18th middle of the pack, but that 31st in block shots, I know block shots aren't everything, but the less shots we can get on, our young goalie and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen and our older goalie and Craig Anderson and Eric Comrie, who's been struggling this season. If we could block some of those shots, we might get opportunities to close out some games there. So I think the Sabres in this next 4-game slate, they need to get they probably need to get 6 points in order to keep in the standings. So Florida won last night. Pittsburgh and Washington are still above us. I know it's quite out of reach, but Tampa Bay is third in the division. They're about, I think they're 8 points ahead of us now. So we're going to have to win these next, we're going to have to get 6 points at least in these next 4 games.
Like in the trade deadline, do you think the Sabres will probably go after that San Jose Sharks player Timo Meyer, or try to get another goalie?
I definitely don't think they need another goalie, with the 3 goalie situation we currently have. But I think for Timo Meyer, he would be great. I'm just worried about having to resign him. His qualifying offer next year is $10 million. So I'd assume, you qualify him. If he doesn't sign that, he's going to want either more or he's just not going to want to play here. I would want to know beforehand that we can re-sign him if we're going to get him. He's still young. He's an electric player. He would fit so well with Cousins, with Paterka, with Quinn. He would fit so well in that group. But that's another concern I have with acquiring someone like Timu. I don't want to break up the first line, and I don't want to break up the kids line, and I don't want to play Timo Meyer with Middlestat and Olofsson. I just think playing him in third line minutes wouldn't be beneficial. I think we need to go after a defenseman or a third line center. So Jacob Chychrun has been in a lot of trade talks. The Sabres have been linked to him a little bit. Edmonton's been linked to him. The Kings have been linked to him. But he is someone who could solidify our defense. He's young too. Pairing him with Power could be great. He has 19 takeaways on this season, or excuse me, 13 takeaways on the season so far. He's averaging less giveaways this season, playing on, an Arizona team who is not particularly the best. And getting someone who is, in my opinion, close to what Owen Power might be in the future. Getting someone to pair him with that, showing him the ropes. And Chychrun is a leader in the Arizona Coyotes locker room. So I think getting someone like Chychrun would be great. I've also seen Nick Bonino, and Max Domi in trade rumors. I think putting them on a line with Olofsson and Jost would be phenomenal. He would fit right in. And personally, I'm not a big fan of Middlestat. I mean, he has been putting up points, but defensively, he's quite a liability. And Bonino and Domi would fill those roles defensively, who can also put up points. They have playoff experience and, trying to push for the playoffs. That is something we need. And the other name I've seen is Vladislav Garkov, defenseman for the Columbus Blue Jackets. He's much more of a defensive defenseman. And as much as I love Chychrun, I think Power needs a defensive defenseman, and the Sabres just need another one because our only one right now is Matthias Samuelsson, who, don't get me wrong, he's excellent, but you can't just rely on him to do all the defensive defenseman work. And Garkov could bring that support to Owen Power, take a little pressure off, because Owen Power, he's been good in these past few games, scoring 2 goals. But you can see he keeps growing and growing, and he's gonna need someone to help him on the back end there. And again, with the goalies, unless we're trading Comrie or Anderson, I don't think we need to move anything with the goalies.
Like, do you think the Sabres will make the playoffs this year? Like maybe the first round or something? Or
I believe they can. It's really gonna come down to our defense and our goaltending, I think. And honestly, it might come down to the 8-game losing streak we had earlier in the year. That might end up killing us. But right now we're 3 points back of both Pittsburgh and Washington. We have a few games in hand in Washington. We have a few games in hand on Florida, who's right behind us. I don't believe in the Islanders. I don't believe in this Philly coming back and making the playoffs nonsense. I think it's gonna really be a battle between Washington, Pittsburgh, and Buffalo. I know I said that the Sabres are only 8 points back at Tampa, but we all know that's not going to happen unless Tampa gets crazy injured, Vasilevsky goes down, something like that. But, we need to put together a streak here. We have a really tough 4-game slate ahead of us. But if we can, we need to be within, we need to be within 6 points by the All-Star break to really have a shot. And if we can be in a playoff spot by the All-Star break, that's a pretty good sign that we're going to make the playoffs. And if we make the playoffs, we're a young team. I mean, I'll just be happy that we make it there and making the playoffs. And I think no matter who we play, we're going to have a tough time. But anything can happen. But we would have to see.
do you hear any rumblings in Pittsburgh at all with trades?
The people around here, I hear really want to get a goalie. Jari just went down last night. He's gonna be out till at least the All-Star break, they said. And DeSmith is having a horrible season. He has been absolutely abysmal. He has a really poor stats, and you can see. I mean, letting in 6 goals is crazy. And I know the Sabres have done it, but their goalies on the Sabres have been consistent. Jari has been consistently bad. And you can just see that the team in front of him doesn't have confidence. So I think the Pittsburgh Penguins, their main goal for this offseason, or not this offseason, this trade deadline, should be to acquire a goalie. There's some good ones out there. James Reimer from San Jose. Anthony Niemi has been reported. He has 1 year left in Carolina. And they have Kochekov, who's been phenomenal. So they kind of have a situation to Buffalo where they have a young goalie who's really good and doesn't really need to play in the AHL anymore. So they might go after Ranta. Cam Talbot is reportedly on the block for Ottawa. So there's some good options out there. There's been rumors that they're looking to pick up another defenseman, so they could be in for Garkov or Chychrun. But I think the Penguins always somehow find a way. So I would be more worried about the Capitals, what they're going to do this trade deadline from the Sabres point of view, because the Capitals weren't that good at the start of the year. They've picked up recently. I mean, Kemper's playing better. Backstrom's back. And they're getting the secondary scoring, so I'm more worried about the Capitals at this moment.
And the Sabres have an all-star player, Tage Thompson.
Yeah. I mean, every team has an all-star player, but if we want to look at the all-star game, Tuck snubbed, Dahlin definitely snubbed. Cousins could have gone, Skinner could have gone, and the Sabres finally built something in all these years since the last playoff appearance, 2011. They finally built something that you can look at and be like, okay, this is a core. Like even we had Jack Eichel and O'Reilly, and what else did we have? We had a bunch of bottom 6 wingers playing top 6 roles. And now you can look at it. Okay, you have a bona fide top 6. You have the Kid line, and you have the Thompson Skinner Tuck line, and those 2 lines are some of the best statistically in hockey. They put up all the points. They're good in the defensive zone, and Quinn and Peterka have struggled throughout this season, but they're young. They're rookies. It's going to happen. But you can see that when they can put it together, and I think that's the difference between now and the past 11 or 12 years, however long it's been now. That you can see that these rookies that they have, they've been properly developed in the AHL. They weren't rushed in the NHL, and now that they're in the NHL, they're getting they get benched, and they have to get benched because your rookies, they're not superstars. They're not Connor McDavid. They're not going to be Connor Bedard. They need a break sometimes. Playing 82 games is a grueling task, and seeing the Sabres actually care about the development of their players is a very welcome change.
Do you see any reason we should get maybe like a third line center, maybe try to trade Middlestat?
Yeah, well, like I said, Middlestat has been putting up points, and he's looked better than the past few seasons, but he's a defensive liability. He's really just feeding Olsen the puck, and Olsen's gonna score. I mean, that's kind of, again, that's another problem. That's a problem with Olsen, is all he does is score. And getting Jost on that line really helped defensively. Jost is great in the defensive zone. He has great defensive awareness, and he can play offense too. So getting that on that line has really elevated this line. And I think it's not just with that line. Our whole bottom 6 needed to revamp. I mean, listen, I'm the biggest Girgensons fan, but at some point, I mean, he's been here he's been here through all the losing seasons, and give him a chance to go elsewhere. I mean, Okposo's good, great leader. He battles, and then whoever you want to slot there, Asplund, Krebs. I would love to give Krebs more opportunity, but if we got a Domi or Benino, you'd be like, oh well, then aren't you going to give Krebs less opportunity? No, because you take Middlestad up there, so you put like Krebs, Benino, and Olofsson, and that's a much more solid line. Then you move Jost down the fourth line, and that becomes an even better line. And that is the one thing that the Sabres have been struggling with this season is their bottom six scoring. Besides Olofsson, I mean, you got Middlestat. Again, he's putting up points, but liability in the defensive end. He causes too many turnovers, and he's just not overall that smart. So I think finding a third line center would be the ideal trade target besides a defenseman.
Do you have anything to add before we end the show?
No, I mean, the Sabres finally look on path. Donnie Granado is, if they make the playoffs, he's got to be coach of the year. You can see they really like playing for him. You say they like playing for each other. They love playing for the city. There's no one on this team that I think laments being here. As you saw in the past, like Jack Eichel didn't like it. O'Reilly, Ristolainen, even Gergensen's now. He doesn't. He, despite being here through all this losing season, it looks like he loves playing here. He loves being a mentor to the young guys. Having someone like Craig Anderson is great. He's teaching Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, and he's helping Comrie, and he's a great guy. And there's been so much, basically since the last end of the last season with the Eichel return and RJ Knight and Miller Knight, seeing all those, having that kind of around the team, they're like, okay, this is what the city can do, and if we can bring this energy back to the city every night, that's what they want to do, and you can tell. And when they make the playoffs, be it this year, be it next year, the house will be rocking, and it's what the players deserve.
Sully, what do you do for college that you're in?
Well, I am a part of the online newspaper. I also do TV production. I am the assistant editor for RMU Century Media, the A&E department. I write for them. I edit articles, and for RMU Colonial Sports Network, I'm a contributor. I work on the TV show Sports Talk in the Berg. I floor direct usually, and I am now on RMU Live as the director. And I run a podcast, the Bobby Mo Movies podcast, out of RMU. So that is what I do here.
And where could, like, say, like, my viewers or listeners, if they wanted to find you?
I am on Twitter at _Lions95 _. You can find RMU Century Media at RMU Century Media, and Colonial Sports Network is at RMU _CSN. Those are all my articles are posted. If you want to check out my podcast, it's on Spotify, Bobby Mo Movies. And yeah, that's where all my work is.
Thank you for tuning in or listening to this episode of Let's Talk 716 Sports. Thank you to my special guest, Ethan, and go Sabres.
Let's go Sabres.